Hey guys, I'm Jax and this is my review for The Substance, which I can confidently say, in the most objectively subjective way possible, this is not only the best horror film of the year. This is not only the best film of the year. This is, and I do not say this lightly, the quintessential modern body horror film. So yeah, I liked it. The Substance is a propulsive, frantic, psychologically charged, and insanely creative and gory body horror film. Every single second of this film's look, sound, and vibe just oozes creativity in a way that is both simultaneously breathtaking and horrific. A gorgeously grotesque masterpiece. A vibrant, colourful film in which every single choice and moment feels so purposeful and thought out, filled with such thematic intent and bold creative daring, whilst also being completely littered with really fun Easter eggs and homages to so many other films that this film and filmmaker have clearly been inspired by. The editing and pace in this film is relentless, never letting up or giving you reprieve, but not in a way that feels tiresome, overbearing and unyielding, but with such intent and care and purpose that you understand why it feels this way and is presented in this way. It doesn't feel like it's too much, even though it very much is too much. I love this film's use of literally every single department. No aspect of the filmmaking in this film does anything apart from a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 5. They all do such an exceptional job, but some of the things that really stood out to me was one, the cinematography, in particular, the use of extreme close-ups of repulsion and excess, and just highlighting these things in such extreme close-up shots made me so upset at times and gave me such a visceral reaction. It was so well done. There is a scene with a man eating some kind of prawns with a dip, and I was just like, oh, I get it. Like, this guy's meant to be super gross and horrible, and like, I understand his character, but just in case you weren't 200% clear what we need to get from this character in like 2 minutes, they just film him eating these prawns with this dip, and it's so close up, and the sound is so loud and overbearing and extreme, and he's just so super gross. And I'm like, I get it. That man's gross. My eyes have not been glued to the screen in delighted disgust since watching Peter Jackson's Braindead back when I was a teenager. It honestly invoked such a beautifully horrible, visceral response and reaction from my body. I felt nostalgia in a way that I don't feel like I felt in a million MCU movies, being like, there's that guy you liked from that other film, but now he's slightly older. Don't you like films? And I'm like, oh my god, I do. I love films. Whereas this truly felt like the film itself transported me back to that feeling I had when I was a teenager and I was first experiencing the 80s body horror type films, these horror comedies, these films that had such a sensibility about them that is so perverse and often weird, yet often done in such a delightfully funny, colorful, and very obvious way. The dialogue is bare bones, to the point, minimalist. The story at its core, very simple. But the visuals are striking, daring, mesmerizing. The color pops off the screen directly into your soul. But not in a gross, invasive way, except for some of the visuals that pop off the screen into your soul in maybe the most invasive way possible. It is truly wonderful. I love how much of this film I'm just like, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And then a second later, I'm like, I'm going to throw up. This film is all show, little tell. Visual storytelling at its best. If a picture paints 1,000 words, then The Substance paints 1,000,000. Or at least 2,000? The film's plot deals with some really heavy, dense yet rich themes of self-loathing, aging, beauty, and addiction. This film is a biting satire and exploration of women's beauty standards in the media. How the media treats women and how the media sees them as something that is beauty first, person second, and how does that psychologically get into people? How far will that person go to be young forever, to be immortal, to be immortalized in the media, to be loved again for nothing more than their beauty. And this film takes it to the most extreme point. It takes it to the most absurdly fun and excitingly wild extreme. There's a moment in the third act where you go, oh, this is the logical endpoint to this story. There's just like this hard cut to a moment, and you're just like, I cannot believe we've come this far. I love that this film has gone this far and is telling this story in this way by adding these body horror elements and going so far and so extreme. I feel like by being so blunt and obvious, sometimes subtlety isn't the thing that's needed. Sometimes a hammer is what you need. And you just need to be blunt and obvious and hit the message on the head. And it is then so much more powerful than sometimes being subtle and sly about things. And this film does that. And then this film's like, oh, you thought we were done? That was the third act. Didn't you know we have a secret fourth act coming? The fourth act in this film, there is a moment in the fourth act where I went, oh, I think what's going to happen is this, and it'll invert and switch and twist and and then it'll like smash cut to the directed by whoever it's directed by, and I'm gonna like, that's a movie. No, there was like 35 minutes left, and there was just a whole secret fourth act, and I cannot comprehend the film without it. Even though up until that point, it's so beautifully first act, second act, third act, story is done, message is told, and then you realize we haven't even scratched the surface yet. We haven't even done the thing yet. I was overwhelmed by the fourth act. I was overwhelmed by where this film took itself. Even though it is super extreme and crazy and wild in certain things it does, you think we're kind of living in a certain realm of filmmaking. I simply thought I was watching a film made in 2024. Turns out I was watching a film from 1984. The body horror in this film is not only perverse and visceral and gross, it is just like so well executed. Oh, also I forgot to talk about the actors. They're all spectacular, but particularly Demi Moore gives one of the most honest and raw performances I've seen in so very long. Just a stunning, haunting, devastating portrayal of a woman who is dealing with a pretty weird situation, and she doesn't deal with it that good. There's a moment in the fourth act where things take such a wild, extreme turn. I was like, this is like Frankenstein now. Well, I'm like watching a modern reinterpretation of Frankenstein. How did this get into the film? This is crazy. And there's this feeling and pace and mood where it's just like laughter, excitement, overjoyed of can't believe this film is taking it to this place. And then suddenly I was so overwhelmed, like such a sensory overload, that I just like stopped and I was in silent disbelief. I was just like, the film broke me. In conclusion, I thought it was pretty good.